Okay, today we're going to talk about something really important. It's this quiet revolution that's happening in the global economy. One that is already changing the game, redefining which assets win and which ones lose. And honestly, it could really set the tone for the markets for the next decade.
You see, for the last couple of years, the market has been changing in a pretty profound way, but a way that most investors just haven't really noticed yet. The old rules, they're kind of being rewritten as we speak.
The assets that are winning and the assets that are losing, they've quietly swapped places. But here's the kicker. So many portfolios are still built using an old, outdated map of the world. And this gap, this gap between what is happening and what people think is happening, that could be the single most important factor for your performance as we head into 2026. So this really forces a pretty critical question for all of us. Is my portfolio built for the world that was, or is it built for the world that is?
All right, let's dive into it. We're going to break this all down into 4 key parts to really get a handle on what's going on under the hood.
Okay, first up, a shift in value. Before we even get into the why this is all happening, we really have to look at the what. I'm talking about the hard numbers, the data that proves something fundamental is really changing. Just take a look at gold. In 2025, it posted an incredible 65% return. I mean, that's its best performance in over 40 years. It completely smashed its old records, hitting over $4,500 an ounce. Now, that is not just a good year. That's the market making a really, really powerful statement.
And then there's silver. Its move was frankly even more dramatic, a surge of 160%. It just blew past these old resistance levels that had held it in check for years. A move like that's not just market noise, that's a signal. It's a signal that the market's entire view of that asset is shifting.
And it wasn't just gold and silver either. Even platinum, an asset that a lot of people had kind of written off, it surged 120%, coming right up against its old all-time highs. The entire precious metals complex was being re-rated, right in front of our eyes.
So let's just be absolutely clear here. What these numbers are showing us, it isn't just a temporary rally. It's not a speculative bubble. This is hard evidence of a fundamental rotation, a change in the very value axis of the global economy.
So you're probably asking, okay, what's behind all this? And that brings us to our next section, the new economic anchors. You see, there are actually 3 fundamental transitions all happening at the same time, and they're what's driving this new reality.
The first one, and this is probably the most critical, is the shift from financial anchors to real economy anchors. Think about it like this. For decades, value is all about paper claims, stocks, bonds, complex derivatives. Now, value is shifting back to tangible things, stuff you can actually touch, stuff with physical utility and real strategic importance.
And this slide here, it shows you exactly what I mean. Gold, it's not just a hedge for your average investor anymore. It's become a core security asset for entire countries, with central banks buying it up by the metric ton. Silver and platinum, they're not just precious metals. They are critical ingredients for the whole green energy transition. And semiconductors? Well, they've gone from being just another tech theme to being the actual foundational infrastructure of our entire modern economy.
And that leads us right into the second big transition, a shift from concept to cash flow. For so long, all you needed was a good story, right? A compelling narrative about the future. But now, the market is demanding results. It wants to see real-world use, real revenue, and real investment in actual infrastructure. The story isn't enough anymore.
This comparison here just nails it. On one side, you've got this powerful narrative, like Tesla's promise of robo-taxis, while its real-world EV sales are actually falling. But then on the other side, you have the infrastructure companies, the NVIDIAs of the world, who are literally selling the picks and shovels in this AI gold rush and seeing record-breaking demand. The market is finally rewarding the builders, not just the storytellers.
And that brings us to the third big shift, which is all about what safe really means. See, when markets get choppy and there's real stress, assets get put to the test. And that's when you find out what they're truly made of. The market is now drawing a very clear line between assets that were just thought to be safe and those that have actually proven they are safe when things get tough.
I mean, just look at this breakdown of gold versus Bitcoin in 2025. While gold was surging, Bitcoin was all over the place, highly volatile. When the pressure was really on, the big institutional money treated Bitcoin like a speculative tech stock. Where did they run? They ran to gold, the proven safe haven. The results of the stress test are in, and it looks like the market has made its choice. So, okay, it's one thing to understand these huge shifts,
But what does it actually mean for your portfolio? Well, that brings us to the investor stance in this whole new world.
And this is so important. The single biggest risk going forward isn't just about owning the quote-unquote wrong asset. No, it's about failing to see that the role of every single asset in the system has fundamentally changed. This isn't just about picking stocks anymore, it's about updating your entire map of the world.
This really creates two very different kinds of investors now. You've got the growth bet investor, who's still playing for maximum upside, basically betting that the old trends are just going to keep going. Then you have the resilience investor. This person is focused on defense, on protecting their portfolio by building it with real assets, gold, strategic commodities, for this new reality. Look, neither is necessarily right or wrong, but you absolutely have to make a conscious choice about which game you're playing.
And hey, this isn't just some abstract theory. We're seeing it play out in the real world. Major firms like Morgan Stanley are openly questioning the classic 60-40 portfolio. They're actually modeling a 60-20-20 split now, adding a permanent 20% allocation to gold. Why? Because in this new environment, they say it provides a much better defense than bonds do. And all of this brings us to the final point. And really, it turns the focus right back on you. This is about calibrating your own compass, not for the world that used to exist, but for the one we're actually living in right now.
Because here's the bottom line. The markets aren't just moving. The very meaning of what an asset is, its purpose, is being rewritten. So the ultimate question for every single one of us is no longer just what's going to go up. The real question is, which economic reality is my portfolio actually built for?